So let's get into it. The last episode of Andor, episode 12. The exfiltration of Clea continues. I like the filmmaking in this scene. I think we've seen more exciting Andor action sequences, and usually it's based on location, like if it's Ferrix or Gorman. So nothing too special about this apartment unit, but I did think the filmmaking here and the close-ups and the intimacy of it and that stunner going off, like I felt the tightness of the moment in a good way. Did you guys like this as an action sequence?
Star Wars loves a good hallway scene. Like their Star Wars fans will tell you that there's so many good hallway scenes, and Daredevil fans, I'm sure, and Marvel, but Star Wars really nails it. Darth Vader has one or two, Darth Maul has a couple. Like, there's just so many great hallway scenes, and there's something about in those tight location quarters, especially that, the first apartment they go to is the wrong floor, so the tension's great, and I really enjoyed, like, they literally have no way out, and something's going to happen. That Kay is probably going to come up there and help, but I thought, like, the grittiness of this apartment, and even previously in the last episode where Andor's like, oh, it's been a while since we've been here, because it looks like it's overgrown and, like, post-apocalyptic up there, like it's untouched, so yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
I think I would have preferred a more interesting outcome, and part of the reason, like, part of the robot problem is it allows you just to Deus Ex Machina by means of robot beating the fuck out of everyone, and it's just like, alright, well, they're all dead, but, like, there's nothing interesting happening there in terms of, like,
right,
coming up with a plan or whatever. So, like, I don't know. It's fun to watch the robot on the good side of things after watching them terrorize people, but...
Yeah.
I think it's kind of
a little funny when Kay picks up Hirt and then uses him as a human shield, and then Hirt just takes bullets. Like,
I think it's kind of part of, like, the Rebel Alliance becoming more like the Rebel Alliance. Like, they're starting to get more toys to play with, and and they're becoming less these, like, gritty scoundrels in the underworld of Coruscant, and they kind of have their own, I don't know, they have missions, and they have droids they could use, and they have, I don't know, like, that's kind of what I took from it, is that, like, all right, they have more resources because they've been collecting it over time, but
again, I think you're both right, and I think what maybe saves this a little bit is that we did see Andor as a human man recover this droid in the last episodes.
Yeah, like,
so
it's like his baby,
If K2's like suddenly here, I'm like, okay. But because there was that...
And who got him K2? Dan's favorite character from the Gorman arc.
Yes, save the day.
Who was driving the car.
Shot that guy.
Yeah, but if they shot the guy, then we never get K. So, then
if we never get
dies.
K, Andor's dead, and the whole Star Wars...
The rebellion fails because that one guy.
This scene, I'm with you, Dan. It does take a little bit of luck, but I like that this the show hangs a lantern on the fact that the Empire, they're like, where's the backup? And it's like, well, you just told them to go search the galaxy for this woman, so you don't have backup. I thought that was a little clever. All right, so that works. They do get Clea out. Clea's going to have a hero's welcome on Yavin, right? Wrong. She just has depression. Let's talk about Yavin, and let's talk about specifically what Luthen means to the rebellion. I think we've been talking about it already on this episode. First of all, we get to Yavin. I could swear I heard the Rogue One theme, and I got a little rise out of that. I'll just admit it. I also did when I saw Mon Mothma had her haircut. The classic Mon Mothma
and the white
haircut.
gown on or whatever, like they're starting to look like that. Yeah, set design was great.
They're dealing with big picture rebellion issues. Like, we love Saw Gerrera, he's amazing, but he is so paranoid. How do we deal with him? Or like what do we do about the comings and goings of Captain Andor? It's becoming a bureaucracy again. It's not the cloak and dagger of Luthen's shop. And I don't know about you guys, I kind of missed the Luthen of it, because I think that intentionally there's a claustrophobia and a new complexity to this round table at Yavin, that you're almost seeing a new government forming that could and does have some of the same issues as the old government maybe had. Like, right. I hated that senator who was speaking out against Luthen.
This scene, dude, just made me want to...
It drove me nuts.
Yeah, I was getting so mad, and I knew it would kind of tie together at some point. They wouldn't just make you pissed off the whole time, but they really let you sit with that, where they're like, these people are pissing on the grave of Luthen, and, like, just, like, they're doing the same shit that the Empire does to a degree, where they're like, oh, did anyone see this? How do we know you were there? And he's like, yeah, I'm the guy who built this entire fucking planet. Like, I was on Yavin with a bunch of, like, hungry dumbasses and like killer like dinosaurs basically, and like made his way off of it and probably reported that, hey, this is a good place to store the entire rebellion. Like, Andor is the whole reason Yavin exists, and Luthen is the whole reason that Andor exists. So it's like, to me, to see, you know, them shit on Luthen like that was tough, but it was cool to see the round table and to see like everything is coming together. They were like waiting for 2 more people. I know the names in there, but I you know, forget exactly who they are, but I can't wait to really go back and watch Rogue One, but also A New Hope now. And like in on the Yavin scenes, I want to be so much more locked in knowing that like Cassian was just there. Like he was like he built all of this, and it
where
makes
is he now? Where are you, Cassian?
We'll get there, bro. But oh my god,
he says to the council, "I don't know if what he was told was true or not, but it's insulting to hear him run down by people who have given a fraction of his sacrifice to this rebellion."
Just gagged them right there, like that. Like they had no idea what to say.
Also, I mean, God, what happens to Alderaan and Bail Organa is awful, but the irony of him taking charge and being so dismissive, knowing what's going to happen to him, I thought was pretty interesting too.
And I think it's interesting tying back with like his entire experience with the Jedi and Yoda, and like how like Revenge of the Sith era, like Bail, where he like tries to go to the Jedi Temple right as Anakin is sacking it, you know? So like there's so many interesting tie-ins where like you're seeing these people from different parts of the galaxy. They all have their own complexities and dark histories to them, and they're all trying to put the pieces together best they can, but you kind of see how bureaucracies can, I don't know, hold everyone back, and the way Luthen does it, where maybe not the best,
definitely not the best,
you can get shit done, and sometimes getting shit done is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I kind of like Draven here, who's kind of a dick, but then after the meeting comes up to Andor, he's like, yeah, like, you're right. Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Or, can you help me with this? You know?
Yeah. Immediately, yeah.
What'd you guys think of Vel on Yavin? Because I was kind of surprised that she's almost the, like, emotional linchpin of this finale. And I didn't expect that coming from her. But I thought the way she can kind of connect to Mon Mothma, connect to, because that's her cousin, obviously, connect to Andor because they've been in the trenches together. They were on Aldhani together. I thought it actually, I was surprised, but then when I thought about it, it made sense that she's able to almost be the bridge for the rebellion. I thought that was great.
I feel like, and this is where like, it feels like kind of late for her to pop up. I don't know, and this kind of like ties into what I was saying before. It feels a little bit disjointed to me in terms of like who we're seeing and how much of them we're seeing and like when we're seeing them. And I think this show, when you take away like Cyril and Dedra and Luthen and Bix, and then it's just like, and Cassian kind of, he's just kind of sitting around drinking. Like, I don't know.
These final episodes, these final moments, like it did start to feel very Game of Thronesy to me, where I do feel like I care a lot about these characters, where, you know, I know early on in the season, like we were talking about how, oh, I didn't care about Will, or I didn't care about Vel, or I didn't care about Cinta, and then like all these things happen and the show's written so well that it gets you to care about these people. So even though maybe we didn't see Vel for a while, the fact that she's there, and we knew she was there, like helping training, and she kind of bought in, and knowing that she's there, like it wasn't just kind of like a, oh, okay, this character. It was like a, oh, Vel's kind of the perfect person for this because she disassociated from Luthen, she's bought into Yavin, but her, you know, her sister has more say than her now, so she can help her sister out. Cassian trusts her with this. Like, I kind of bought in here. Like, I appreciate that all of these like sons and daughters of Luthen are finding themselves with him being gone now, and they're trying to pick up the pieces of knowing that people hated him and they kind of hated him, but they also know he was a necessary evil, and how they can convince people that never knew him that he was important, and that if he died for something, that it's probably something fucking massive. And so I really appreciated it.
I think that's really well said. I didn't want to bring this up because it's so stupid, but I thought about it, like the coaching tree of Luthen, like Luthen as Bill Belichick and Andor and Clea as his Tom Brady. Like, who is responsible for what, or is it an amalgamation of all of it? But he's a hard ass. Like, he's a bad guy, but you cannot deny the effectiveness and what seeds sprouted from all of his hard work. So this episode ends with like kind of a classic epilogue of check-ins with different characters. So I wanted to just run through them, get your takes on these moments. Let's start with Clea, because there's this very brief moment as Clea has not received the hero's welcome on Yavin, and she's kind of watching it go by and the work being done there. And do you think she's having a feeling like, okay, the fruits of our labor are something, or do you think it's hard for her to realize that, to connect what she's done to what she's seeing in front of her?
I think towards the end, she's definitely has that feeling of like, maybe what we've done is actually building something. And I think it really matters when Vel is like, I have friends everywhere. Like, our friends are here. Like, it's not just these people on Yavin that she doesn't know. Like, at least as of now, Vel is here, Cassian is here, Mon Mothma's here. Like, she has people here that she can relate to more than just that they're all part of the rebellion. Like, they are her true friends that understand the ins and outs, at least of what her and Luthen let them in on. Maybe not their past, but yeah, I thought that, like, I think she gives a little smirk, kind of. And to me, that was really nice to kind of see, like, okay, maybe that the hardened shell from Luthen isn't fully passed down to Clea, that maybe Clea can find some appreciation for what they built and improve upon what Luthen was doing.
I like that. And, you know, we hear Nemec's words, actually, and I thought that this was just voiceover. Nemec, of course, the Karl Marx revolutionary from the first season, who wrote the book on rebellion, quite literally. It ends up being, this is kind of interesting, like, it ends up being diegetic in the sense that Partagaz is listening to this recording. And you don't really learn more, but you get the sense that it is out there and it is spreading like wildfire. Was this enough of a hint to understand what was happening, or would you have liked to have known, like, how this message is getting across the galaxy as it transitions to Partagaz listening to it?
I don't think it necessarily matters. I think it's just, you kind of get the sense that it's just spreading organically. I don't think you necessarily need to have it kind of walk through. One thing I just want to say quickly, too, about Clea, I feel like, did you guys feel at all that her kind of unraveling felt strange? Like, I feel like you feel like she's someone that's so hardened and has been through so much, and then even when she's rescued, like, there's so much hesitation and hemming and hawing and sitting around, and like, she seems like someone,
she gets like almost fatally injured too.
Yeah, but even before that, just in that conversation, I just think, like, it feels almost like there's a shift in her character, and then I don't know. Did I
think it's
feel that way?
I think it's the shell of Luthen. Like, I think, like, with, like, she is hard and battle hardened and she's been through everything, but like, with Luthen gone, she's starting to lose her path. And I think, especially when we see her on Yavin, that, yeah, like, I think that she looks out of place. Like, she says something about, like, what is it? Like, Luthen always used to say, like, no, you're out before you're in, or whatever it is. And I think, like, she just feels so lost right now that she's like, I don't even know where I am. I don't know what planet I'm on. I don't know any of these people. And so I think for her to unravel, like, she has gotten herself, you know, into such a fucked up situation from her angle that she's just kind of lost, and then that Vel helps her pick up the pieces. But I don't know,
Dan, I think it's a fair criticism, and when I hear like the other criticisms, I think it all comes down to not having enough time to marinate in these moments for these characters, because we're asked to do a lot of jumping to the next step and assuming and understanding emotional journeys when we don't need to be told them, like, oh, I'm feeling that, like Clea's like, I'm feeling like this because Luthen died. But a little more there would be helpful, I think, in feeling the fleshed outness. Back to Partagaz listening to that, I'd love to know from you guys, you know, speaking of not saying what he's feeling, you know, he takes a blaster and he kills himself moments later, but hearing that speech spreading, what do you think's going through Partagaz's head in that moment?
They lost.
Yeah,
they're fucking cooked, brother. Like, their entire, like, the entire goal that we talk about throughout the season of Andor and the first season is just like, the Empire wants to control messaging so they could just keep tightening their grip on the galaxy, and that's kind of the whole point. Like, everything that they've done is try to control the narrative, and the narrative is slowly slipping away. And when the narrative slips away, they lose their control on the people. And when they lose the control on the people, rebellions happen. And then that's where the power lies, is in the people. And so I think that he's realizing that everything they've been doing, that one little slip up, like, the organic nature of the rebellion is starting to pick up steam. It isn't just Luthen hiding in the cloak and daggers and in the shadows of Coruscant. It's people all over everywhere. You know, they have their own version of the internet in Star Wars, the HoloNet. Like, they probably, like, there's people like us podcasting out there, you know, just sharing the Nemec manifesto and breaking it down, and it's probably like they can't control this shit anymore. And I love that he knows that they're gone, that he's fucked, that I think it's really interesting. And I think I didn't really see him killing himself. I wasn't sure that's where it would go, but I do think it makes sense. And I like the relationship with the other official in there with him, where they had the understanding, and like he stops the guards from going in. He's like, let's just take a second here. Like, we'll allow it, so.
Let's move on to Andor. So Andor is still we see that he's dreams of his sister still, even to this day. Seems like he's also boozing pretty hard. I don't know if he's in a great place. I'm sure he's missing Bix and waiting for that next. I mean, he just did a mission, but that next big mission. And I'm assuming like a serious lack in his life at this moment when we're seeing him. He has a little chat with Bail Organa, and Andor tells him that Bail would be better friends with Luthen than he realizes. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Agreed.
May the Force be with you is said in this scene.
It's slowly tying in. Like, I really like, and it would have been better if we had another season or two likely, but I really do like them slowly showing that the rebellion is coming from nothing. And these little sayings and all of these things that we hear about in the later movies are from this, and they're being built in this, and they're trying to do things the right way. So I really like stuff like this.
What year is this ending?
BBY1. So before the Battle of Yavin. Like the next day Rogue One starts, basically.
Okay.
And then right after Rogue One is The New Hope, like immediately. So it's like
so much shit happens in Zero.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's like Jesus was born.
Because like basically you get this is ending, then Rogue One happening. Rogue One starts in 15 BBY with the flashback.
Technically, yes, yeah.
Where Krennic looks exactly the same. And then goes to Zero, and then
ageless.
Zero is also the same year that the Death Star is destroyed. That's kind of crazy.
The reason I buy it, and we can get into this more later, but is that all Cassian does is just go on missions over and over and over and over. And you never know when the big one's going to hit. You never know what that big vital thread, like what thread you're going to pull that's going to pop out into this like massive moment. And so like any of these past missions he could have gone on would have been the big one. And I think, okay, he starts out, he's going to go meet his boy, and like it's slowly going to start to pull this thread in Rogue One that like that could have been any mission that he's ever gone on before. So I kind of do buy it. That's like, now we know that things are ramping up, and the Council of the Alliance believe in him to go pull on this one, that we kind of get there.
Watching this and watching a little bit of Rogue One, I was just like looking at the timelines, and I was just fucking impressed. Like, I think it's incredible. Like the Swiss watch just to the minute of Andor into Rogue One, even if it is a little awkward ramping into a movie. So after this, we get maybe the most important scene in the show, and that is checking in on Perrin.
This was so funny. Like, I saw Perrin pop up, and I was like, what is this about to be? But then I realized, like, they were wrapping everyone's stories, kind of. But it's just, I don't
Perrin's
really
got a space bong and a drink and a space hooker with him.
I don't know, like, what the point of this was. Is it just, like, he's just unhappy? And
I loved it so much. Because it's just, like, this full of shit person leading his full of shit life, who's never going to change, never going to do anything or be anything. Yep. And it'll just be that until he dies and live happy.
For everyone rebelling, there's many more people who are just enjoying this lap of luxury life right now. Like,
he has
which
no
was
fire.
The entire Mon Mothma storyline up until she's able to leave. Like, being surrounded by that. And, you know, people just saying, it might suck for other people, but, like, I'm living great, so fuck it.
Dedra is in a very Narkina 5-esque prison. It literally is the same set. It's got that floor that's fires up and burns you alive if you step on it. And we've talked about her, how maybe she got a little short shrift in terms of the character and how that's wrapped up, but that it does make sense that the Empire would chew her up and spit her out. And, you know, I think we've talked about in the past, Dan, that like certain characters, if they were on the other side, would have been incredibly effective, and twists of fate or whatever have them on the Empire or have them on the Rebellion. Dedra, I think, is an extremely talented person that was used for the forces of evil, you know? And like, I love the characters in Andor because they're always very capable. She's extremely capable. Really curious how she could have turned out in a different way if she wasn't on that child kinder block, you know? Raised with love, maybe.
We said the same thing about Cyril, right? Like it's just about
Yeah.
choices you make and choosing the right thing or choosing the wrong thing. And I think both sides of the show also very well kind of dive into like organizational punishment of people that don't listen. Like there is ego and power on both sides, and they kind of want you to like toe the line, and like you see the rebellion really starting to form into more of like an orc military with ranks, and you know, if you don't do what we want, we'll put you in a room and like keep you there. Like it's very, you see a lot of punishment on both sides. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. We mentioned Clea. She's maybe recognizing the fruits of her labor. And then Andor strutting off, music swelling, sees the Force healer, gives like the tiniest head nod to her. Was that a head nod, Sean? What do you think?
I am gonna say yes because I kind of want it to
think
be.
so too.
Actually, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if I want it to be or not. I kind of I like the awareness for them to see each other, and I love that she doesn't smile, like that she might feel that like his end isn't going to be a happy ending, but that it's a necessary ending for the alliance to win. Like I don't know if I want the head nod to be there, but I like that he isn't running from her, that he's like acknowledging her.
I thought, well, it's definitely an acknowledgement. I thought I saw like a little nod or smile, but what I think it said is like, hey, Force healer, yeah, I am that dude. I am that
He's
guy.
that fucking guy, man.
I'm
He is.
Andor.
I had very real tears running down my face with the swelling of this like last 15 minutes, and I don't know if it's because I just loved this show so much and the journey, but like there's something about knowing, like watching Andor walk through the rebel base that he built, and like he's kind of intercut between all of these moments. You see him walk through the boot camp section, the airports, that like all of these, like the hangars, like all of this. You're seeing all of the fruits of his labor paid off, and like him having like his shoulders are high and he has a mission and he's going on it. Like it might be kind of mundane to him, like he's doing it, but like there was something so excellent to me about like he matters, and then knowing what happens, and like even though like he's gonna matter even more to the alliance, that like it, but like he's not the hero of the story. Like he'll never be the one that finishes the story. He's never gonna get the happy ending, but we know how important and vital he was, that I was just like so caught up in that moment.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't crying at that, but I was crying in the next scene, which the show wraps up with a return to Mina Rao, and we see B, the droid. Which,
you're crying
again,
about the droid, right?
Don't give a shit about droids, but I know there's a big droid population out there, pro droid. No, I was much more interested in Bix, and seeing Bix, and I see something in her arm, and I'm like, oh shit, Andor Jr., and sure enough, camera pans around, and there she is looking off into the skies, holding their baby, and yeah, got me. Sean, I know you're very hormonal right now. I know you didn't have the baby yourself, but you kind of did. Did this get you as much as it got me? Probably much more, huh?
Yeah, man, and like I hate to play that card, but like the stereotypes are true. Like anything like you've heard about having a baby or the fatherhood, or like the way that your mindset shifts, it like even a weekend I could feel it, right? And like again, he was in my lap watching just peak television. I'm so excited to tell him one day that the first show he watched wasn't Bluey, it was Andor. And like seeing that, when I saw her in the field, and I was like, oh my god, no, like don't fucking do this. And then they show it, and to me, I was wondering if it was going to feel gratuitous or a little bit over the top,
sappy.
And it didn't to me, because it makes Bix's mindset in the previous arc, it makes way more sense to me, because she knows it's not just their relationship, it is the child. And that to me, if I had to go do these big, crazy, devastating things, dangerous things, knowing that not only my girl is home, but my son or baby, whatever, is at home, that is a whole other hindrance. And she believes that he is important and vital, and she probably knows at that moment with the Force healer that she's pregnant, and she's conflicted on how to do it, and in that moment she's seeking any type of guidance from the galaxy, and she knows that if he tells her that like or if she tells Andor that they're gonna have a baby, like it changes everything. Like they're not going to win, and she knows that like we need to win. And so it felt so devastating to me,
but hopeful, because Andor lives on.
We're gonna get this spin-off, right? Andor 2,
Andor Jr.
It worked for me so well. I loved it.
Yeah, no, Sean, I didn't even think about all that. That's brilliant. I was just so happy from the pure standpoint of, knowing Andor dies, but that part of him lives on with, in the person he loves. And I thought it could have been so sappy. I thought it was done really gracefully. And yeah, it was a beautiful moment.
I was waiting on like Imperial ships to just like pull up and start like opening up on the village. That would have been devastating. But
Jesus.
no, I think it was nice. I think it's a nice, hopeful image to end on. Like we've talked over and over again about the message of hope. It's like a moment of actual peace, and I think it kind of gives a snapshot of like what they're all fighting for, like in the closing frame. I don't know. It didn't get any emotion out of me just because I was like somewhat disappointed with this entire group of episodes. But again, not the show's fault, and I think it did its best with what it had.